How are
I don't,
you?
oh, all right.
Please just tell me a little bit about how you even got involved in this industry. What made you jump on the decks?
Yeah, I mean, it started a long time ago. I was 15 years old. I had a friend of mine that had like I was basically involved with a group of friends that were throwing raves and were in the sort of hardcore and drum and bass scene in the UK, and had a mate of mine who bought a set of decks and turntables. So we all started on vinyls. We were mixing drum and bass. He was like, typical kind of guy. Like he'd kind of show me what to do and then throw me off the decks for a bit to just carry on and never really give me a chance. So that's when I begged my dad to get me some um, turntables, and I started doing it on my own. Like worked the weekends as a waitress just to save up money for vinyl. It was super expensive. It was all I spent my money on, and yeah, just like really picked it up from there. That's where it all started. That's where my love for it came from. It came from a hunger to prove that I wanted to do this, and I could do this as a woman in the industry. Because like even back then, like I mean, I feel like now it's relatively somewhat easier, but it's still, I'm not denying the fact that it's absolutely still an issue for the lack of women in the industry, or the lack of recognition for women in the industry. Um, but back then it was savage. Like really, I feel like we were up against a lot of stuff. Like we didn't have stuff like political correctness. We didn't have things like, you know, people talking about safe spaces or consent or anything like that. So, and that's not even that long ago. Like, I'm talking 10 years ago. So it's mad how far we've come. We still have so much to go, but yeah, it was really tough, and I think that's where that hunger came in. It was from just wanting to prove myself and say that I deserve a place in space.
Why music though? Like, what attracted you to that? Is that what you've always wanted to do?
No, I'm a designer actually. I'm a graphic designer. Typical Lebanese. I
Is it a typical Lebanese thing? I didn't know that.
feel like it is graphic designer or like something like that, or the engineer or the doctor. um, yeah, so I kind of yeah, was working as that, and leading up to that for my career always, but on the side was always doing music. Um, it's always been a passion of mine. Like I grew up and I was born and raised in Kuwait. Um, Kuwait is so musically rich, and it was always a part of our life. Like music was huge, part of celebrations, a part of gatherings, and the rhythms and stuff. Like I used to, my favorite band growing up in Kuwait was Miami Band, and their music is just absolutely incredible. Like it's so influenced by so many places in the world, like from the African continent to the South Asian continent to even South America. Like it's just a fusion of all of these beautiful sounds and rhythms. And that's what I grew up listening to. Like I didn't have a typical, I guess, Levant upbringing where I was listening to like a lot of Lebanese music. It was a lot of Khaliji music, and yeah, and all my cousins were like really into hip hop and stuff. So I just had a really eclectic, lots of eclectic sounds growing up.
As someone who's completely new to like the DJ world, looking at a deck, it's like the scariest thing I've ever seen in my life. I don't even know if they're called decks or if I'm like completely calling them by the wrong name.
Yeah.
How did you like navigate working out all these like different buttons and then being so freaking amazing at what you do now? Like it doesn't even look like you're thinking when you're performing. And I know that's not true. So like, did you have a mentor or did you just like go hard on YouTube?
No, really, like I said, like I started on turntables. So actually, the turntable is so simple. All you have is, um, the pitch bend and the needle, and that's really about it. And then the rest of it is just using your ears. And yeah, we had things back then, we didn't have things like echoes and stuff. It was just like very simple high pass filter or low pass filter or just cut, the very simple mixes. That's how we started out, just literally cutting low end or mid or high end, just really simple. And I kind of grew up with the evolution of what CDJs then looked like. So then we started to move on to CDJs where we were using CDs. And again, on the CDJs, like the old ones, there weren't that much going on. So it was just quite a simple transition from turntables onto them. And then it started to get more technological and more like advanced with loads of different buttons and loads of different settings and loads of different effects that you could use. And I guess just as you grow on with your skill set and your career, you have to be up to date. And then teaching has always been a massive passion of mine. So teaching other women especially. So I had to kind of always be up to speed with what each new model of CDJ does, or decks, you can call them decks as well. Yeah, but it's definitely, it becomes muscle memory. That's maybe why it looks like it's easy, but or like I'm not really thinking, but I am thinking about a million things at once. Yeah.
100% don't doubt that. And I can totally vouch about what you said about you being really passionate for the teaching thing, because I don't know if you remember, but you did some workshop and I couldn't get onto it because it literally within 2 minutes got booked up. And you actually gave me like a private session absolutely free. Like, I still can't get over the fact that you did that. It was very,
It's,
very sweet.
it's a huge passion of mine. Like, the way I look at it is I always try and think of my career as like, what is the legacy that I want to leave behind? And I've done this multiple times, like even on lineups when they've not had budget. And I'm like, but I'm so passionate about this new upcoming DJ. And I've been in a position of privilege where I was working in a full-time job. So DJing was always like my part-time thing. So I was able to say, well, look, what would you accept if I invite them on to share the stage with me, but I'll pay them out of my fee? And then, there's always things that you can try and do or just try and sacrifice. You have to make sacrifices to build a legacy, and you have to be selfless. So, like, I've never really been someone that thinks about myself at all. Like, I'm always thinking of the bigger picture and the community around me. And that's what I want to build. And that's, yeah, ultimately the legacy that I want to leave behind.
Do you remember being booked for your first gig? What was it and what happened?
Oof, I do. Um, it was in a club called Dissident in Peterborough. And I was a drum and bass DJ at the time. I was in the drum and bass scene for like a good 10 years, and I made a fairly decent name for myself. So I've definitely not been like an overnight success. Like, I used to fly out rave flyers for free just to get a set. Um, so I've hustled, I've grinded to get to where I am. But yeah, it was just I think I remember, I'm actually someone that suffers with stage fright. It's got so much better as I've got more.
Really?
Yeah, I do really bad.
Okay.
I, I know it just is kind of it just it kind of exists in the first couple of minutes, and then it just kind of, then I've got it. Um, but yeah, there's definitely that there, and it's just because I've learned to kind of love my anxiety and learn to be friends with it, because I just care about what I do. I care about it so much, and that's all that means. So yeah, I'm like, but basically going back to that, I remember being in the club and my hands were shaking so much I could barely lift the needle to put it onto the vinyl. Like, it was like
What?
I had to get my friend to help me. Like, can you please help me put it on? I was just so nervous, but I was only a little 18-year-old, um, in a very male-dominated scene that I just knew had it out for female DJs. So there was just so much pressure um, around me to perform. So I guess that's where the nerves also came in. Um, But yeah, that was my first gig.
Any memorable moment from that, apart from not being able to lift the needle?
Honestly, that's all I remember. It's like, you know, those little trauma bonds.
I am gonna come back to like how hard it is or what advice you have for people who are trying to get booked. But before I do, you said you were a drum and bass DJ. That's what you predominantly did. How
Yeah.
did this evolution happen? Because now I just think of Saliah, the one that's got like banging Arabic swanner sounds. So how did that evolution happen?
That happened when I moved to London about 7 years ago. I went to a club night in London called Hishik Bishik, and the DJ there, the resident DJ, DJ Super Mike, he's Palestinian and actually ended up becoming my mentor for a while. Um, but I had already, just before that, I tried to explore different genres. I'd gone on a bit of a hiatus from DJing for about 2 years. And when I was trying to come back, I was exploring with like all the genres, the other genres that I loved, like hip hop, UK funky, garage, everything in between, but just generally very like UK sounds. And then trying to incorporate Arabic music with that. Um, Went to this club night, and a DJ knows when a DJ is really good at what they're doing. So I could tell Super Mike was amazing at what he was doing. Um, just hit him up on Instagram, just said, listen, I've already been trying to experiment with this. Like, can I come and meet you, show you what I've been working on? And if you have any advice with mixing with Arabic, because Arabic is not produced to be able to mix with generally, like, and sometimes you don't have um, you know, the basic 4/4 timing, or you don't have elements that are always, um, you know, when DJs, or sorry, music producers sometimes are producing, they're thinking a lot about the DJ. Whereas with Arabic music, it's more about, um, you know, what the song actually means and the journey and the emotion that it's giving you. So it's not thinking about it from a club experience. Um, so yeah, sat with him. He showed me a couple of things. I went away, started to experiment a lot more. And then that's when I ended up getting a residency there, um, to warm up for him, and continued. And then obviously, whenever I got the chance to showcase that stuff in other spaces, I was doing that, like sort of blending those sounds together. Yeah, and then basically when I was about to put on my own event, just before the pandemic hit us, that was going to showcase what I'd been working on. And unfortunately, everything went into lockdown, everything got postponed. But I took that opportunity to start music production, because that's when I was like, okay, what can I do with this time now that I'm not going to be, um, you know, in a club space or around people? I can use this opportunity to learn a new skill. And I was also working full time as a graphic designer, so I was doing that. That was, yeah, simultaneously.
I will never forget the first time I heard your El Hantour remix. I was like, as if someone's found a way to remix this track into a club banger. I was honestly in awe. Um, Same with Habibi Rhythm. Like, love, 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 love. How easy, not easy, wrong word. How was that process? You said you used lockdown to learn that new skill. Was it frustrating or did it come quite naturally?
I was initially going to college, uh, virtually, and then and that kind of gave me like the discipline, because I knew I'd paid for a course, Introduction to Ableton, and I had to show up for the lectures. So that gave me the discipline that I needed, because I know that I can be a little bit, I can get distracted quite easily. So yeah, we were kind of doing that, and I think this was still at the time where we could still meet in small groups. So there were still moments where we could actually attend class. Um, and I remember one class, I still couldn't figure out how to play a note. Like, I just wanted to play a note. And I remember hanging back at the end of the class, and I stood there for a good 45 minutes, whilst the teacher was like speaking to someone else, just to wait for him to show me how to do it. And then once he did, I was off. I was just, that's it. I was just like, okay, I'm in my element.
Bye.
Yeah. So it was, but you know, I still, it's such a, it's a minefield. So I just had to keep experimenting with different sounds. Um, and then every time I create something, I test it out in a club space, see how it went. And I found a really incredible guy called Chuck Shadow, who's a very cool UK-based producer based out in LA. And I kind of hit him up and I was like, look, I'm looking for a tutor that can really kind of help me mold my sound and my ideas and my vision. Um, and he was so down, like when I told him like about how I'm trying to bridge this gap between classic Arabic music and club sounds. Um, yeah, so he's been amazing throughout my journey, because I don't like teachers that like really show you how to do something. They really make you go back and work on it. Like, so I just had this idea with El Hantour. The story is like, I was like, okay, I've got this idea. I want to make this into a UK base, whatever. And he was actually like, I don't know if it'll work. I was like, no, trust me.
Hey, I'm the captain now.
And then I went away and kind of developed the sound, put it all together, and yeah, we would both like, just this just slaps. So, um, and that moment in at Boiler Room, that was curated by Nuria, that was the first time anyone had ever heard it, and I was bricking it, literally bricking it. I was like, this is either going to be a drop or a flop.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a drop because since then my life has just completely changed.
Did you expect it to get as crazy as it did after Boiler Room? Because that was phenomenal.
I don't think any of us expected that. I really don't think any of us expected it. Um, and I have my own like, uh, I don't want to go too deep into it, but there is something to be said about the fact that we were like obviously on like a Western platform, um, and suddenly we got recognition because there's been people from the region that have been experimenting with these sounds for years. Um, so yeah, I'm still quite, I feel strongly about the fact that I do have my own sound. Um, People sometimes describe my sets as like you've almost created your own genre. So like I do, and I've definitely it's definitely inspired people worldwide. Like after that Boiler Room set, people were sending me edits that were like, yo, I heard your edit, I made one just like this, what do you think? People sending me videos of them trying to replicate the same mixes that I was doing. um so yeah, it was really nice, and again that goes back to that like legacy of like I just wanted to do something that told a story about my musical journey and my career. um yeah, and I think I did it pretty well.
I love how humble you are. But that's not sarcasm, like genuinely where you're like, yeah, I think I did it. Okay.
It was all right. Better next time.
One thing I love that you said is you've reached out to people and be like, hey, can I show you this or can you mentor me? And I think that's brilliant. Sometimes people are scared to do that. What encouragement would you give to somebody who looks up to you or really wants to get good at, being a DJ or a music producer? What advice would you give them?
Literally the worst thing that is going to happen is that someone can say no. Like, just get comfortable with being with the idea of rejection, because if somebody doesn't have time for you, it doesn't say anything about you. Like, it's just where they're at, and what capacity they're at to be able to give their time. But what I would say with reaching out to a mentor is see what you can also offer, because it should be a two-way situation. It's a form of a relationship. and be really clear about the amount of time that you're asking from that person and what exactly you want from the person and what you want to come out of it. So they're also clear. It kind of informs them like, okay, well, this is how much I can give you per week or per month. Um, offer something if you can. Um, yeah, maybe you have a skill set that would be of benefit to them. This goes across all um, careers, I guess, like it's not just limited to music, but definitely reach out. Like, generally speaking, people are pretty kind. And I've, yeah, always had really good experiences when reaching out for support. There's been very rare occasions where it's been like not great responses, but you move on from them pretty quickly.
Any other golden pieces of advice from someone who is struggling to get booked or, struggling to put themselves out there?
Consistency, like really consistency. Like, don't let you will have a million doors closed in your face before one opens. Like, it's always the case. And I think, again, goes across all forms of communication, actually. Like, don't they say like there's an average of like 8 emails that need to be sent before somebody responds? Um, so just continue being persistent in the goal that you're trying to achieve. Um, and that is what will open doors for you. And your network is your net worth. So make sure that you're like reaching out to the right people, look at other people's careers as well, and maybe see who they're connected to, or maybe they've got, um, you know, interviews out there with their journey and how they made it, um, that will kind of help you to get along the way. But yeah, from my case, it was just honestly just being consistent in showing up and making sure that I'm connecting with the right people and being really supportive of everyone around me, because it comes back to you. So that's what I would say.
Love that. And what does authenticity mean to you, Saliah?
Uh, just, yeah, I mean, this is so cliche, but like
I
literally
know.
being true to yourself, which is actually so hard. And I don't think we talk about how hard it is to do that, to ask for what you need from the people around you. But yeah, I feel like the support that I've had from everyone around me um, has really, been paramount to my success. But also knowing that you're the only person at the end of the day that will have your own back. So just, yeah, build that relationship with yourself. But yeah, never sell yourself out. Like, if you do, you'll end up being trapped in a situation where you're doing something that doesn't feel um, genuine and true to who you are, and that will show really in the work that you do as well. So yeah, it's cliche, but yeah, be true to yourself.
What is life without a few cliches, though?
That's it.
You need them. Is there anything that you're allowed to reveal to us about anything that you're up to, what you're working on, or anything we can look forward to?
Well, we've got the headline show coming up, 1st of March, Colour Factory, little plug. Yeah, I hope to see everybody there. Um, I can't say too much, but I will say that I'm working on some really exciting collaborations this year, some potential residencies that will push my performance into more of a live element. So yeah, moving more into the artistry side of stuff, as opposed to just using decks. And yeah, that's basically more touring is on the way.
And where can people find you if they want to keep up to date with all these surprises that you're going to hopefully reveal?
Instagram for sure is like where my home base is. And I've also got a subscribe to my email on there where I'll send out like emails giving people up to dates.
Amazing. I could honestly talk to you for hours, but obviously, due to this technical issue, I've already kept you way longer than we originally scheduled. But I'm going to have my fangirl moment now. I just want to say you are phenomenal. Obviously, I'm sure you're hearing this all the time, but if we put your incredible artistry aside for a second, you're a really, really inspiring individual. And I really hope you know that because I can imagine, you get caught up in the industry, you might get a little bit lost. I don't know if you have imposter syndrome. Is that a thing for you? There's no hope for us then. But but my point is like I just hope you know that every time your name gets brought up, all I ever hear is amazing things, and you really are who you say you are, which I think is amazing, and you stand for so much. So I hope you know that the whole community still don't know what we did to deserve you, but not only are you entertaining us, but you're always representing, and I think you're phenomenal, and I'm so grateful that I got the chance to sit down and talk to you.
Babe, I appreciate you so much, honestly. I appreciate everyone. I had a
We
lot.
all appreciate you, honestly. Thank you so much, Saliah. Thank you so much for giving up your evening. I really appreciate you, and I'll hopefully see you very soon.
Thank you.